the vote.
Court is in session with Ryan in Sacktown on If You Don't Like That. Now, Ryan in Sacktown.
Oh, must be Rhino.
Knicks run New York City! Bing bong!
Tell me a little something, KD. Don't you regret not coming to the Knicks?
Knicks fan Patrick, I know you are busy the next couple days. Congratulations to your son Liam and your niece for graduating. Big deal. Holy bleep. This is just the start of the conference finals for each team. And I'm not even talking about hockey. Are you kidding me? Last night in New York City, the Tyrese Halliburton, like, I just, Sacramento, is there any more salt out there to pour into this wound right now? Yesterday I said, Kings fans, we're at the bottom of the tunnel and we're looking for like the cracks in the rock to be able to get a little handle and start climbing our way out. And Hallie does it again. How he is able to get back and create space like that, because he's not necessarily a super fast guy, but he's quick when it comes to creating space. And he's the one that just made the shot to go to overtime. Aaron Nebhard. Oh my gosh, man. What did you think about that finish? Where does it rank? Seriously, in all time performances at Madison Square Garden. We'll talk about them. I have some of them queued up, at least some of them that are familiar to me. So chime in on that. You got NBA again tonight going, Thunder and yes, the Minnesota Timberwolves. How you feeling about it? David Adelman announced as the head coach. The interim tag comes off. So interesting enough, every coach that was named interim at some time during the season has now become the team's permanent head coach. So you know what's going on. Hey, Vivek, man. Vivek, you set that trend. You see, Vivek? Playoff teams are following your model, Vivek. They all kept the coaches too. You're on the right track, Vivek. You know that that's going on behind the scenes. But anyways, we'll get to the rundown in a few minutes. Kicking off a doubleheader here on the channel. We'll go over that game last night. Bonkers. Just even how Nembhard ended up back in the game. Neesmith picked up a fifth foul. Like that game was so close. Like the Knicks were probably a basket away from Rick Carlisle waving the flag and saving the guys for game two. And then that happens. Like as soon as that ball bounced off the rim and went straight up, you knew it was, if you played basketball, you knew it was coming back down. So anyways, a lot to recap. We'll get to it. Make sure you join Grant later tonight for Open Forum. His shows have been popping lately. Good questions, good calls. Heard Dirk call in last night. So if you want to call this show today, feel free. Love to get you in here. You can scan the QR code on the screen. You can also hit the link that's in the chat. We'll keep circulating that as we go along. Let's get down to it. Court's in session on If You Don't Like That.
Late nights on the screen, hey, it's Grant and Ryan. We bleed purple, talking hoops, never lying. Sacramento Kings, we rise and we fall. If you don't like that, then you don't know ball. Jerry sitting with the stories of the game, spilling all the truth, driving legends insane. From the Cow Palace days to Arco's roar, this town's heart beats on the hardwood floor. If you don't like that, turn away now. Kings in our blood, we ride strong and proud. Running up the score, Kings never back down.
What's up? What's up? Yeah! What's up? How we doing? Domas, what does this team need?
The biggest thing is we need a point guard. That's for sure.
Got it. We need a point guard. How's everybody doing? Ryan in Sacktown with you. We're going to get to the rundown here in a second.
He just thinks that what he's saying is so awesome. And it's
Jim's
so lame.
Always got to interrupt. It's not always lame. Sometimes it's awesome, but it's not always lame. Be accurate, Romy. Do better. Do better. What's up? What's up? Playoffs, the theme of this show. If we can get to it, we're going to talk about DeMar DeRozan like we did yesterday with Domantas Sabonis, talk about his year, step forward, step back, sidestep. No, that's a little bit hard to judge because it was his first year here in Sacramento, but we'll get to it. NBA, I've got a question for you. If you were with us a couple of weeks ago, I got on the NBA for warning Tyrese Halliburton for his, whatever you want to call it, his set celebration, his juggling act after hitting a game winner. Do you think he was practicing that choke? I seriously, it is dead freaking on to Reggie Miller. And does that mean now that you're going to get fined, Tyrese? If the NBA fines him for that, get the heck out of here. If you don't know about the Reggie Miller choke, it ranks up there in the all-time moments at MSG. I mean, listen to how many points he scored in a short amount of time. Check this out.
Houston and Utah tied it too early. We'll be going there at the conclusion of this game. A game that's seen nearly 60 fouls called. Actually, that is short of the record for both teams in a playoff game. Miller for three, and he got it. Reggie Miller with a clutch tray, and it's 105-102. And a steal. Miller retreats to the three-point line and hits again.
Tie game. No need to foul in that situation.
So that's the famous moment from back in the day, the NBA on NBC. Patrick, I know, remembers it. He's here. What's up, buddy? Look, it's one game. I think the thing that you have to take from this is it's one game. If you're in the Knicks locker room, it's one game. Now, I know it's a devastating way to lose, but I point to the final score, 138-135. Yesterday, when we talked about this series, you had two completely contrasting styles. You've got the Pacers that want to run. They want to get up the court. They want it to be high scoring. And you have the Knicks who want to grind it out and be physical. Clearly, 138-135 was played at the Pacers style of play. So how can the Knicks bring that back? I mean, the Knicks were up 15 points, and then you just have the massive collapse in the fourth quarter. You're thinking like, okay, this really can't happen. I don't think this is going to happen. And then Nesmith starts hitting another three and another three and another three. Listen to the TNT guys. Listen to what Chuck says about it. And by the way, side note, MSG, shame on you. Did you see where they put the TNT guys? Like, I'm pretty sure the TNT set is hanging from the rafters of MSG. They are that far up, and the set is tiny. You're bringing their last hurrah for the Eastern Conference Finals on TNT to Madison Square Garden, and you put them up in like a peasant suite? Embarrassing. Put them on the floor. Just like I've said about Gary Gerald. Gary Gerald should be spot on the floor, wherever he wants at the scorer's table. He gets to choose his seat. Why do you move him upstairs? Anyways, here's TNT.
At the horn, took us to OT.
Wow.
And the Indiana Pacers complete an improbable comeback here in game one, 138-135. We welcome you back as we come to you from the rafters at Madison Square Garden. The last
the
time I was up
rafters.
this high, I heard the captain say, we might encounter some turbulence. I mean, it's, we are up here.
Ernie, you always say we get to.
Yeah, and we do.
We get to do this for a living, and I just saw something I've never seen before. We're the luckiest dudes in the world. We get to do this for a living. That was incredible.
Oh, and the storyline changed so dramatically because as I was thinking, okay, we're going to start the post-game show. We're going to be saying, okay, how about that time when Brunson had to go to the bench with 5 fouls? And what the Knicks do? They went on a 17-6 run without Jalen Brunson, and they cruised home by double digits. And that ain't what happened.
This game was kind of weird. Like, Indiana got off to a great start.
And we'll stop it there. I have no interest of hearing anything that Draymond Green has to say. In fact, why Draymond Green's on the set doing shows with them when this is their last series that they're covering? Get out of here. That's terrible. That's a complete crap. I'm going to the soundboard in my head. It's just whatever. Anyways, I got to say this, and hopefully you can draw the line between these two. If I'm looking at the final 4 teams that are left in the NBA playoffs, I think after last night, the body of work, the Indiana Pacers, and understand the difference between what I'm going to say. They are the best team left in the playoffs right now. And by best team, I mean from 1 to 14. Each guy knows his role. They play their role perfectly. Are there more talented teams? Absolutely. But they are top to bottom, the best team. Maybe Hallie comes out of this as that guy. Like, we start putting him into that conversation with the other guys that are in the that guy conversation if they win a title this year. But they don't have a superstar. I still don't put Hallie as a superstar, and they need every piece to work together. They are the best put together team, best constructed team left in the NBA playoffs right now. Probably the best constructed team in the NBA this season. Incredible. And that's with Hallie struggling for a large part of the season. How about that overrated vote now? You want to take that again? If you're the NBA players, you want a second chance at that vote? I just still can't believe how much space. That was the exact same thing he did last series against Cleveland to make that space. How he is able to consistently do that blows me away. But these guys trust each other. And quite frankly, they have no fear whatsoever. This was really eerie. Wanted to hit this really quick. Jim Ersce, longtime owner of the Indianapolis Colts, passed away in his sleep. You know what? It's a great point, Tristan. Tristan, it is a great point. Rick Carlisle is probably the best, most underrated coach of my generation. You hear what Jerry says about him all the time. The dude always has a job in the NBA, and the guy always has a good team, for sure. A lot of credit to that coaching staff. They play together. They have one common goal. I heard somebody call in, and I want to get to Ersce here in a second. I heard somebody call into a national show. Now, I don't listen to a ton of other shows. I listen to full transparency. I don't listen to any local shows here in Sacramento, with the exception of one segment per week with Jason and Dave when Sam Amick joins them. I will listen to that segment. But there is from time to time some serious NBA radio shows I'll listen to. One of them is Give and Go. And so I was listening to Give and Go today, and they laid it out perfectly. And then they had a caller that called in and said, I can't remember the last time I have seen a team play basketball like Indy does, but not have that star. And I'm thinking to myself, is Antonio Davis, is Rob Perez going to say the Sacramento Kings from back in 2001, 2002? Stylistically, they are completely different from this year's Pacers, but the concept and the build of the team is very similar. Everybody knew their role, and they did it perfectly, and they loved playing together. So I wonder if that is not necessarily a bad comp. But getting back to Jim Irsay, passed away in his sleep at age 65. Really eerie here. That is the last tweet that he put out on the X. Big advocate for Indianapolis, did a lot for the city. Now, he wasn't without his demons, that's for sure. But amongst the NFL owners community, the guy stood up for what was right. In fact, he was the first one to finally put his foot down about Daniel Snyder and get him out of ownership in DC. Too soon for Jim Irsay. As of the last 6 months, a year, has not been seen a ton publicly, especially in the last couple months. There was some reports he had a fall. Here's what it comes down to. He publicly talked about his battle with addiction. For those that don't know, he had an issue with prescription painkillers. In fact, I believe he was charged with a crime around prescription painkillers, but he had the cojones to step up and realize that his platform might be able to help somebody else. So I don't want to speculate on what caused him to pass away in his sleep. It's just sad that he's gone at 65. Seems like it's a little bit too soon. But certainly, things were on the Pacers side last night. And the fact that that was the last tweet that he put out, eerie. So we'll see what the Colts do moving forward. A lot of the past players in Indianapolis, I've seen them on and off TV all day talking about him, including Peyton Manning. So shout out and condolences to Indy fans and, of course, the Ersce family. And, you know, I liken it to in completely different situations because Kyle Draper was not in trouble. But Kyle Draper here in Sacktown, he shared his story about sobriety publicly. There was an excellent piece that came out earlier. Is it earlier in this season? Might have been late last season. I think it was late last season that piece came out about Kyle's sobriety. And for somebody to step out and use their platform that way, you got to understand they're not doing that for recognition. They're doing that because they hope it helps somebody else. And it is a massive risk to do that, especially if you're the owner of the Indianapolis Colts, if you're the TV play-by-play guy for the Sacramento Kings, but it's that important to them. So shout out. I think if you don't know that story about Kyle, go check it out. Go read it. Shout out to Kyle. I think that's great. So passing Jim Irsay way too early. New York, Patrick, I feel for you. I think you guys will bounce back. You got to get game 2. You have to get game 2. The other thing that was going on, in fact, I had tuned out, to be quite honest with you. I tuned out of the conference finals game, and I was watching the NHL. Adam and I were texting back and forth. A ridiculous third period comeback from the Dallas Stars on Edmonton. They were down multiple goals. They end up winning 6-5. to 3. Are you kidding me? So pay attention to the puck. You've got some more hockey going on tonight. I am learning to love hockey. It is so much fun this time of year. So a couple other things. We hit this really quick. We'll talk about tonight's game between the between the T-Wolves and the Thunder. And last but not least, if we can get to it, we're going to talk to DeMar DeRozan and his season. Look back at it, look at the numbers, and kind of talk about what's next for tomorrow, what we think should be next. Oh, and yes, credit to Adam on this. Can any of you, and if you've been watching the show, you probably know the answer, but do you remember whose shoe this was? In fact, it was their first signature shoe, the Air Bacon. It's coming back. I can't believe they are bringing that pair of shoes back. Full transparency, I owned a pair because I loved that player, but they were the ugliest shoes alive, and they were so uncomfortable. But you look at the vote right there. The vote's positive, 67% fire. Come on. But whose shoe was that? Put it in the chat. Whose shoe was that? Don't Google it. I want to see. Yeah, Tristan's already on it. He knows. It was the Rocks. I thought about doing a giveaway around that, and I'm like, you know what? It's too easy. You think those are fire? Yeah, I'm not feeling those as fire. I thought Mitch, when he was wearing, there's like these iconic pairs of Kings, or player exclusive shoes that some Kings used to wear. Mitch, for a while, was wearing the second version of the Air Up Tempo, but it was the first one that had the full air bubble going all the way around. And it was not the pair that says air clearly on the side of the shoe. It's actually kind of in cursive on the heel of the shoe. I thought that was such a sick pair of shoes in white, purple, and black and silver. Oh, needed those. I got the black and silver ones. I never got the player exclusive ones because you couldn't get your hands on PEs back in the day like that. I thought those shoes were for collecting and not wearing. Shoes are kind of an investment these days, but you got to hold on. Well, you know what? No, the original Air Bacons would be the investment. Once they get re-released, what are you going to do? Hold on to them for another 20 years? I don't think you'll have the same value. Mateen Cleaves, interesting. Little Mateen reset. Best towel man in the NBA. The 90s are back. Lawrence Funderburk. I can't believe y'all thought those were fire. What's up, Paul? How you doing today? Any MSG performances that stick out to you? What's up, Flores? Need to acknowledge some people.
Acknowledge me.
You guys saying hi to yourself. Haunted Horse is in the house. Team chemistry for the Pacers. Indeed, I read that it's a suspected overdose. Unfortunately, it would not surprise me. Look, there's probably not a single person that can hear my voice right now that has not been affected directly by addiction. Might not be you, but it might be somebody in your family. It might be a friend. It's an ugly thing. It's an ugly, ugly thing. That's why I have the utmost respect for those that are able to tackle it. Those people should not be looked down upon. They should be celebrated. So if that's the way that it ends up going, look, too soon, very sad, but there's worse ways to go. If he went in his sleep, reportedly. Now I really have to run. All right. Draymond was doing the choke sign right along with Halliburton. Go back to California. Will you please? Thank you. What is he doing there? And give the TNT crew a better setup. Sacramento Kings 2026 NBA
Acknowledge me.
Whoa. Who knows? If Domas gets his
Well, the biggest
point
thing is
guard,
we need a point guard. That's for sure.
you get a point guard. Zach LaVine outplays his contract, stays healthy. JV starts alongside Sabonis. Keegan Murray gets featured. Maybe. Who knows? Did anybody have Indiana where they're at? All the credit to the coaching staff. Yeah, yes, indeed, Mars. That was the definition of modern NBA. Didn't watch the game, but not shocked a team can blow a 14-point lead with 3 minutes left. Look, here's where I'm at with this. And I know that there's people on both sides of the spectrum, and I'm interested to see where you fall on this, because you had guys miss free throws. Cat missed a free throw. You had OG miss a free throw. Regardless of that, I mean, the Pacers still, or excuse me, the Knicks still took way more free throws than the Pacers. So even with, I think it was like 12 more free throws. There you go. They had 40 free throws last night. The Knicks did. You got to shoot with a better 70%, 100% there. But where I was going to go with that thought is, regardless of all those little mistakes, I really feel like the Pacers took that game and won that game. I don't think New York blew that game. I give more credit to the Pacers and put less of the onus on the Knicks. Now, there was a couple times they began to trap them late. We've got some audio of it. They began to trap late in the game as they got closer and closer and closer, and how Nembhard and these guys that you don't really know about end up playing such a significant role in this game. I mean, Nesmith, are you kidding me? 5 threes in 4 minutes in the fourth quarter. I believe he had 17 overall in the fourth quarter. These guys have ice water running through their veins. You know why? Because this is what they've done all year. They're not asked to do different things when they play different teams for the most part. They make teams adjust to them. But there was a trap where it looked like the Knicks should have, or excuse me, it looked like the Pacers should have stole the ball. In fact, Hallie was completely out of position. Brunson threw the ball right in the middle of the court, and it ended up getting through. But here were some of the moments from the end of the game.
Go. Use possession here. And we've seen some magic from these Pacers in these playoffs.
Brunson tries to work his way in, boring his way
You gotta send help
into that defense. It's Toppin. And Shepard back on Brunson on top. Towns 3. Rebound Indiana and picked up. Siakam the board. Halliburton the drive. And he'll take it. He'll backpedal a 3 for the win. And he got it!
I think that's a 2.
That is a 2. You're right.
I think that's going to be a 2.
That only ties the game. That ties the game.
We're going to be going to overtime.
We sure are.
And he tried to give your choke sign to the Knicks, and the game's not over.
Wow.
Listen to Knicks fans. Listen to the roar when they realized the toe was on the line. I don't know that I've ever heard an arena go that quiet. You could hear a pin drop. But you saw the title of the show. There's been some all-time moments at MSG. We already heard Reggie Miller's, right? What about MJ scoring 55?
Jordan working on Starks. Got
to neutralize Michael as he was trying to make the penetration. And carrying 5 fouls. Oh, yeah. First to the left.
You remember that? That was the 45 days, by the way. 45. So that moment comes to mind. What about this one? When Kobe surpassed Michael's scoring record.
By 17. The next free throw for Kobe. He'll put it at 56. And he's done it. A new standard has been set at Madison Square Garden by an opposing player against the Knickerbockers. So not the old-fashioned way. Kobe on a spin. What a pivot. Yes! 121-103, 59 for Kobe. What a display. They can't believe it courtside. Neither can we. Harrington barely gets into the rim. And Kobe popped it away.
Pretty special moment there for Kobe. You can't forget about this. This was one of my favorite things that I remember from Madison Square Garden. I know most of you will remember this.
Assists. Tough turnaround shot. Gets to the go. 16 points for Lynn.
That's what we talk about high IQ. When he dribbled left and went down in there, Fisher was right on him. And when he made that spin move, he knows he can shoot up over the top of Fisher.
Landry Fields on Bryant. Quick jump shot, short. Jeremy Lin the rebound.
Give him those jump shots. Just don't let him put it down on the floor.
Lin likes the open floor, spinning, puts it up and backs it in. Yes. Sensational play for Jeremy Lin. And it's Gordon Brown on its feet again.
Jeremy Lin's massive night against the Lakers and Kobe in MSG. So there's been some very, very good moments at MSG. Here's the link if you want to call the show. We're getting you warmed up. Grant's back at 8 o'clock tonight doing open forum. Adam is very excited about his stars, understandably so. The X Factor 12. Sabonis has little man syndrome in a big game. Halliburton has big man syndrome in a big game. I guess here's my question. Let's say theoretically, okay, well, I'll play your game. I will play your game. Let's say that you get Fox traded for Sabonis and Hallie is still here. Do you think this owner would have put the right pieces in place around those two? And Hallie would be at the same spot he is now with the Pacers. Because you very well could have a situation where Halliburton's the complete focus. And he's little man in big game syndrome guy too. The Kings have asked, and you know what, Domas, I agree. He has struggled in some big games. He's got to be a little bit better. Period, end of story. All these guys need to be a little bit better, but I don't know that they have always been set up for success. The Kings' adjustments in big games have been atrocious since this Beam Team era started. How about Game 7 against the Warriors? Terrence Davis instead of Davion Mitchell? How about that adjustment? What's Steph Curry do? Drops a easy 50 on you? Yeah. Right? How about last year? The adjustments were okay. Last year, it wasn't a glaring adjustment, but throughout the season, there were not as many adjustments from Mike Brown. The Pelicans loss, yeah, that sucked. Fox had a really bad third quarter in that game. Really bad third quarter. And back to the season before, 22-23, with the series with the Warriors, the Kings didn't adjust all series to the Warriors playing off of Domas. They just kept running the DHO. Okay, well, if they're not going to be out here, we'll just run the DHO. We'll let Sabonis hand the ball off. Well, everybody runs around him. So then we go to this year. The adjustments, Doug Christie was thoroughly outcoached in the play-in game. Thoroughly. Dressed down to a degree. So they have not had great adjustments. Sorry, they just haven't. Not trying to defend every player, but the adjustments have been very poor. 4 chips by now if we had Hallie. Yeah, right. The owner wouldn't be picking up the pieces around Sabonis. The GM is supposed to pick up the pieces. Well, in this case, Peter, the owner is the GM. And that was pretty clear by, I think the only Monty McNair move that you had last year was the Valanciunas move. That's not a Vivek move. Just not a Vivek move. The Levine trade, the Fox trade, that's a Vivek move. Scott Perry is a puppet for Vivek Ranadive. I would love Alvarado. I don't think you're going to get Pritchard. I think he's probably out of the... It was Pritchard. I don't know his contract style or status right now. But Alvarado, absolutely. If you want to play up pace, you want a guy that's going to run through a wall that is cut out for the Sacramento quote-unquote culture, the standard that Doug Christie talks about, then Jose Alvarado, he's one of those guys. He is a tough dude. He's right along the lines of JJ Barea, that's for sure. This is such an interesting thing. Sabonis has little man syndrome in big games. Halliburton has big man syndrome in big moments. He does. He definitely does. I'm not going to lie about that. Not going to lie about that. That guy needs to be drug tested. Who needs to be drug tested? Who are we talking about? Jeremy Lin? Jeremy Lin needs to be drug tested? Are you talking about Jeffrey Lurie from yesterday? He needs to be drug tested? Yeah, I think Jeffrey Lurie needs to be drug tested. What's up, Finchy?
Acknowledge me.
How you doing today? Who died? Just logged on. Jim Ersce, the Colts owner, passed away at 65. 65. I still go back to you're not collecting. You're not collecting the Air Bacons. Like, how many people are picking up a pair of Air Bacons? Like, what do you wear the Air Bacons with? You just can't do it. You cannot do it. So anyways, thanks for being here on the channel with us. Kings Court on a Thursday. You got Napes coming up at 8 o'clock tonight. He'll be breaking down game 2. Which way you guys going tonight in game 2 between the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Oklahoma City Thunder? I would suspect that SGA will be getting his MVP trophy tonight in Oklahoma City. That was so weird that news leaked out. The NBA had to announce it shortly thereafter. But I'm interested. Anthony Edwards, not on the injury report, by the way. Clean injury report for both teams. It comes down to these two guys. It's SGA. It's AE. Anthony Edwards, this team needs his explosion. And not just his explosion from beyond the three-point line. They need him to be a threat to get to the rim as he was earlier in the playoffs. It's a massive threat getting to the rim against the Lakers when things were taken away from him. And I just wonder how much that ankle is going to hold up, because he tweaked it again last game. And then SGA, he's getting so much backlash for his style of play. It's like people just realize that he's that guy that gets to the line that much. Now, if you want to have the conversation about SGA maybe getting too nice of a whistle, I guess I could probably be there for that. But I want to see Minnesota just come out right out of the gates and get it going from all three levels. You got to get your bigs involved. You got to get your role players involved. You had 6 Pacers that had scored by the end of the first quarter last night. I think you've got to see something similar with Minnesota, and you also got to find a way to slow down some of OKC's role guys. I mean, Chet Holmgren, I thought, had way too easy of a path to the rim. If I'm Rudy Gobert, if I'm Naz Reid, I am checking guys like that. So will the nerves show up for Minnesota? It's a big night for them. Which way, or excuse me, for Oklahoma City, which way you going? See, here we go. Here we go. What the hell are you smoking, Manuel? Okay, I got to go back to that. But Tay, right on time. SGA is so freaking annoying to watch. Tay, give me a call. I would love to know what annoys you about SGA, because yesterday I said he's old school. Fundamentals now annoy people. And I'm not saying you specifically, Tay, but people don't like fundamental basketball anymore. That's what the NBA's turned into. You're carrying on almost every single play. Just watch the inbounds tonight and see how many times the big men will have their toes on the end line and it ever gets called. It will inevitably happen multiple times. It's the little stuff like that. But then in big moments last night, replay shows that the ball goes off Brunson's hands. But at the end of the day, I just think that SGA, he's old school. Nothing flashy. You kind of want to make him, although he can shoot the three at a good percentage, and he's improved that part of his game, I would like to see them try to, the Timberwolves, make him hit a few threes earlier. I ask, he delivers. It's been a minute. Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, Rhino, how are you doing?
Great. How's your spring going?
Good. It's almost summertime, or at least it feels like in Southern California. So, how's your spring been, or I guess start to summer?
It's been good. It's been hot.
Oh,
We've had some hot days up here in NorCal, but no, it's been great. Nothing to complain about.
Yeah, so I mean, I think I've had chance to watch SGA more closely, obviously, with with no Kings games on, and them going deep into the playoffs run. Part of me thinks he gets preferential treatment from the referees in that I think some of the push calls, and he also arguably flops a lot, slows the game down. So I think more people are taking on notice, and I think with the league going to a faster paced game, it just seems a bit clunky watching him play, and his game is somewhat comparable to DeMar DeRozan. I'm not saying DeRozan is on SGA's level,
Right.
But I don't remember DeRozan getting those calls, last season. So I think we just want the league to be fair, and if they're gonna call those type of fouls on SGA and OKC, I think Minnesota should also get those type of calls too. So I think that's where I was coming from.
Yeah, I agree. The refs do need to be better. And I think the DeMar DeRozan comparison in terms of styles is a very good comp. Here's the difference for me with the referees. Teams like New York, we ran into this watching the Kings play New York. Another example, New Orleans. Some of those teams are very difficult to officiate because there's just a constant level of physicality. So more seems to more is let go because you can't call a foul on every play. And Oklahoma City plays with that style of physicality. Now, does SGA get a few calls? Yeah, but he's also the MVP of the league. I mean, that's kind of how it goes, and I don't see that ever changing.
Yeah, and I see. I don't know if you saw the post game with Edwards and Randall after game one, where they were, snickering, looking at the box score. I think indicating SGA shot 14 free throws. So players are also taking notice, and I think they're equally annoyed. But yes, you're right. He's SGA. He's the MVP. So I think some of the quote-unquote preferential treatment or the style of the way that he plays, naturally leads to getting more calls.
Okay, so really quick, I don't know what Anthony Edwards is bitching about. He shot 8 3-pointers. He shot 13 shots overall, and he was at the free throw line 7 times.
Yeah, I mean, I think at best, he's been very inconsistent throughout this playoffs. I remember even when they beat the Lakers in 5, there were some games where he underperformed. I think you could argue that Randall has had better playoffs, or it was more of a collective team effort, or Lakers weren't much of a challenge to them, and Curry went down in the second round too. But I'm totally with you. Edwards needs to be more consistent, for him to be on that quote unquote superstar level.
For sure. How are you feeling about the Kings in the offseason so far?
I think with the draft, it was a little bit disappointing in that Perry didn't even make a first move, and the Kings were already falling behind even before Perry even made the first move, just by the way that the draft results ended and Western Conference getting stronger.
Yep.
At this point, I'm neutral. I'm just trying to see what moves that Perry will make, and interested to see how he will, try to flip DeRozan. I think DeRozan needs to be traded. I think that works better for both sides. Perry said that he has talked to every single player. Don't know how true that is, and that he's trying to figure out whether they want to be here or not. So, yeah, overall, I don't really know at this point right now how I feel. Besides the fact that we seem to already fall behind by even just by the draft results.
Yeah, no, I hear you. He's gonna have to make a bold move, whether it's a trade or finding a way if they identify a player and they think they've got the equity or the assets to move up in the draft. You got to do something, or it's going to be a lot of pressure on this coaching staff to look at it and try to reinvent the wheel with the products you have, make a new dish with the same ingredients. So it'll be interesting to see, buddy. We'll stay well down in SoCal. It's like every day's the same in SoCal. You guys are getting ready for May Gray and June gloom, right?
Yeah, it's about that time. And, you nailed it right on the head. You nailed it right on the head. Every day is the same down here. So
good stuff. All right, Tay, appreciate you, brother. Thanks for calling in.
One more thing right now. So how Minnesota made the Western Conference Finals in back-to-back years. They went last year, losing to Dallas. I think that 2022 trade with Minnesota, where they Utah, where Minnesota sent 5 first-round picks to get Gobert, I think that has worked out very well for Minnesota. I mean, if you go to Western Conference Finals in the Wild West back-to-back years, I would have to say that's a successful franchise. So 5 first-round picks, I think it was a successful trade looking at the outcome. What do you think?
Yeah, you can't argue with the outcome. It was definitely an outlier. And the other thing, Anthony Edwards. That's the wild card, right? Like, what's that trade look like if you don't have Ant? Sure. I don't want to discredit what Minnesota's done, but I think their path to the Western Conference Finals has been relatively easy compared to some other teams. And I'll probably take some heat for that. But yeah, it's worked. Hey, look, you make 2 finals.
New York sent 5 first-round picks too for Mikal Bridges, I think. So, and they got to the Western Conference Finals. So, I think some of these, outlier trades may have benefited the teams, at least in the recent years. So,
well, you're gonna see now, Tay, and I've kind of maintained this for a minute. How do I put this? I think the value. Sometimes players have more value than picks. But now with this new CBA, the picks are more valuable to me than the players per se.
Great point. Great point.
Because teams are going to have to do more with less and develop talent in those first 3-4 years on a set pay scale for those rookies. And I think you're going to see teams like we saw last year. The two teams that are in the conference finals in each conference made the biggest trade of the offseason, and it was a week before the start of training camp. I think you're going to see more bold trades like that. Teams are not going to have the patience to ride it out with certain stars because you can't afford to. Boston this year, they're going to be without Tatum next year for all intents and purposes, unless he makes like an Aaron Rodgers comeback, which he didn't have that surgery, just for the record. And they're going to have to break that thing up. They're projected to be already in the second apron, and they paid over $65 million, I believe, in tax. Same thing with Phoenix. So you're going to see teams shift stars here and there, but picks are everything. That's why, hey, it was the going rate this year to get rid of salary was giving away a second round pick.
Wow.
It was crazy. So,
yeah.
All right, my man. Be well. Take care.
Thanks, talk to you soon.
Yeah, tell the ocean I said hello. It's my second home.
All right.
All right. Bye. Good job by Tay. So we do have some news that has come out that I want to hit. It was earlier this morning. Should have hit it sooner. The all defensive teams for the NBA are out. First team, Evan Mobley. Second team, Evan Mobley, Dyson Daniels in Atlanta. Think about that. Atlanta was not that good. Dyson Daniels, first team. Lou Dort, first team. Draymond Green, first team. And how about Amen Thompson? First team, All-NBA defense. Second team, Zubats for the Clippers. Jaren Jackson Jr., Memphis. Jalen Williams, Oklahoma City. Hey, Horse, open up your ears. Tumani Kamara, Portland, who finished below the Kings. Second team All-NBA defense. Rudy Gobert rounds out the second team. So, no surprise that there weren't any Kings included in that list. But when I look at the list of players that receive votes, and I don't see Keegan Murray or Keon Ellis receiving a single vote, that pisses me off. That's not right. I've maintained that you have to do twice as much to get half of the public recognition or national run if you're a Sacramento King. But let me read you some of the names that got votes. OG Anunoby, fair enough. Bam in Miami, fair enough. Derek White, fair enough. Giannis, SGA. Jaden McDaniels, Minnesota. Dylan Brooks. You're going to tell me Dylan Brooks is a better defender than Keon Ellis? I'm not buying that. He's a more annoying defender, like literally annoying, because it's part of his game. Keon's pesky. There's a difference between those two. Jared Allen. Anthony Edwards. He plays both ends. He is one of those stars. Brooke Lopez. Miles Turner. Cason Wallace. Basically half the Thunder receive votes. Jalen Duren and Josh Hart. All those players received at least one vote for either the first or second team All-NBA. Unbelievable. Keon Ellis actually responded to it. I love it. Keon's response, don't trip, bro, with the flexing emoji. All right, I see you, Keon. I see you. One of those two should have received a vote. Hands down. Can I compare Fox to Tatum? They want number one pay, but they don't think they are. But I don't think they are. You don't think Tatum's a one? Yeah, he wasn't the MVP. Jaylen Brown was. I don't know if I'm going Fox. Look, I think DeAaron Fox, if we want to have this conversation really quick, I think DeAaron Fox could find himself in a very awkward predicament. Seeing as San Antonio has 2 picks in the top 14. Not 1, but 2 picks in the top 14. Fox is making between 34 and 36. It's his last year. It's a contract year. Steph Castle, rookie of the year. Could DeAaron Fox... Now, the difference here becomes injuries, right? Because DeMarcus Cousins was just completely injury prone after he left the Kings. But could DeAaron Fox find himself in a similar situation where that contract ain't there? Like, let's say Castle develops a little bit more this year. What if they take another point guard? 2nd and 14th picks. Because I think they are probably the best or one of the best lined up teams to get Giannis. What if he gets traded? Is Milwaukee going to do that deal? Because if the Spurs didn't want to give up Castle and Castle continues to grow, let's say you bring in Giannis, really how important is DeAaron to that formula? Honestly, he didn't play great in San Antonio. Think he had a good national TV game. Got the wheels blown off here in Sacramento. I think Foxy could be in for a rude awakening. And it's not just Fox, it's other players that are in that same tier. Teams aren't going to be paying those massive contracts. Leon says, no, he won't. He will be fine. Harper can play off the ball as well as Castle. But when DeAaron was here, part of the reason he held out was because he wanted super max money. Now, he certainly is not going to be first team or second team or third team, AllNBA. But that's the mindset that he's in. Like, I don't think Milwaukee would want that, because unless you're thinking, yeah, we'll take that contract on for 1 year and then we're going to let you go, and now you're a year older. I guess what I'm saying is, like, what do you think the price tag is realistically for DeAaron Fox? His highest price tag would have been here in Sacramento, because Sacramento has to overpay. Look at Domas's contract. But it is a changing, rapidly changing NBA. So that's a really interesting point. Now, Tatum, he's going to be a max guy. He's won a championship. The Achilles, while a big deal, players commonly come back. In fact, his Achilles is going to be part of, it's the first case study that's been recorded where somebody has had surgery as quickly as he has. There's been people that have had the surgery like 2 days, 3 days later, and there's been really good results, but he had it close to 18 hours after the injury. So I think he's going to be all right. But, like, can't you see a scenario where DeAaron Fox could end up in no man's land? I do. Like, if the Spurs take that next step and he is not a significant part of it, they're not going to pay that big money. I just don't see it. Or at least for me, if I'm San Antonio, I don't need DeAaron Fox shooting 3-pointers. I got Victor Wembanyama for that. I might have Giannis or I'm just going to say the Greek freak so I don't screw the name up. I might have Giannis shooting three-pointers. I need DeAaron Fox getting his tail to the rim. And that was something he was really reluctant to do in his last 18 months here in Sacramento. Maybe Fox could end up in Washington. Oh, that's the hope of a Kings fan. I mean, I wish the guy the best, but be careful what you wish for. It was so interesting, though, that Rich Paul went on the record and said that San Antonio was his idea. I think it's worth tracking. I think it is. Because if you're San Antonio, Wemby's going to get max money. Period. End of story. If you get Giannis, you would need to do the extension so it doesn't go against the tax with the new team. This is an important year for DeAaron Fox. This is a really important year for DeAaron Fox. And I know we've moved on from DeAaron, but it's an important year. Nobody watches Sacramento Kings in America except people on this show. Yeah, you guys are the hardcores. You are the absolute best. Fox might be a trade asset for the Spurs. Yeah. Fox is on the Clutch Sports plan. Play not to get hurt. It's a great point, Manuel. It's an incredible point. It's exactly what it is. Tay, Rhino, have you heard if the Spurs will give an extension to Fox? I have not. And that's what I think is very interesting about this. I mean, if you're San Antonio, realistically, let's think about this for a second. That first round pick that was supposed to go to the Kings was top 14 protected. Charlotte was not going to be out of the top 14. So it stays with San Antonio. That now conveys to 2 second-round picks. The 2020, I think it's 2027. Put it in the chat if I'm wrong. That pick, very likely, if the Spurs are doing well, will be a late first-round pick or could possibly convey, because I don't have the terms of the trade in front of me. So I guess what I'm saying is really how committed are the Spurs to DeAaron Fox. I don't think the Spurs put a ton of skin in the game to get DeAaron Fox. So when you ask about an extension, I mean, I kind of feel like they're going to play it out. Well, he's not going to be happy about it. He is not going to be happy about it, but the prudent thing to do in this NBA, if you're the Spurs, is you let him play this last year out. Why not? Very interesting. Yeah, this is a very interesting conversation. Spurs and Clutch work well together. The contract will get done. You do? Okay. So what do you think his number is? I don't think it's where it's at here in Sacramento. Well, okay, if we put inflation into it. Well, okay. Even if his number stays where it's at this season, how much money would he have been missing out on from here in Sacktown? He was getting offered close to, I think it came out to about 60 a year that he was turning down. Right around that number. Fox could have been a legend here. So he's losing money right there, right off the bat. He's not getting 50 or 60 million from San Antonio. I don't see it. Peter says, correct. You're correct. Fox is a family man. I don't think he cares much about, or much to be The guy. I agree. Well, okay, here's where I disagree. He wants to be the guy without being the guy. He wants to be seen as the guy without the weight of the world on his shoulders. And you can argue that DeAaron, if you look at the Kings payroll, DeAaron's not the guy. The guy is Domantas Sabonis. When they were here together, he makes more money. But DeAaron got all of the blame, and rightfully so at times. If things weren't good in the locker room, you could tell with DeAaron's play. You could. When things weren't great in the locker room or something was bugging Sabonis, could you tell with his play? No. But that whole clutch thing, I think there is truly something to that. Longevity. Yeah, absolutely. Dave, are you kidding? Giannis is a generational superstar. You have to trade Giannis in a heartbeat if you are able to. It's going to be interesting. I think Giannis is likely gone from Milwaukee. It makes no sense for Giannis to stay in Milwaukee. And the team that was rumored to be in the front running before talks could really open up, there was a lot of whispers that the Warriors and Giannis had mutual interest, but you got to think that's out the window now with Jimmy Butler getting that deal. I don't think the Warriors can swing that. Would they swing that? Would Lacob go over? I don't know. That would be tough. But if you're Giannis, that Milwaukee situation has played itself out. It has. You've got Chris Middleton on the other side of stuff. You've got Dame, blood clot to torn Achilles. It's sad. If you're Giannis, you got to walk away from it. Walk away before. I just don't see it getting better there. I think Giannis's legacy stays more intact in Milwaukee if he goes somewhere else this year. Because I could see things getting maybe a little ugly if he stays. But it's going to be up to him. He can never fill Parker's shoes. No, they're completely different players. They're cut from different cloths. Now, I don't think what you guys said about DeAaron being a family guy, I completely agree about that. What DeAaron's done for the community, completely agree with all that. It's just the mindset's not there. Like, imagine if you put, and I mean this for a second, if you put Domantas Sabonis's mind and heart into DeAaron Fox's body, there's a perfect mix. He's a competitor. He's okay. He's feisty. But I don't, me personally, I don't like that it was a quote unquote thing. Uh-oh, you pissed Fox off. Now he's going to start playing. Well, why aren't you playing from the jump? He was brainwashed by Rich Paul. Look, Rich Paul has a lot of swing in this league. A lot of swing. And hey, by the way, the Kings, not exactly the picture of stability with an organization. The way that DeAaron and Rich Paul played this publicly was perfect. Had DeAaron not had the mistake at the end of the Detroit game, had DeAaron not done the BS press conference after that game, the poor me press conference, there wouldn't have been a lot to point at with DeAaron other than what all of you are saying about the play. He didn't want to get hurt. He wasn't going inside as much, right? But there was a lot of passive aggressiveness in different ways. He did not want, I know he did not want Mike Brown fired. I know that, but I also know that that wasn't the deciding, in my opinion. Let me make this clear. In my opinion, that was not the bone or the straw that broke the camel's back. That Mike Brown, he didn't want another coach, quote unquote. The decision was already there. And in some ways, DeAaron Fox did this city a favor. And I've said this for a minute. Because he could have continued gaslighting the Kings. Yeah, no, for sure. The only thing that, you know what? This is where I want to be. I've raised my family here. He could have kept doing that, saying, I want to see a better product on the floor. I want to play for championships, while all along knowing he's leaving. It's already decided. Rich Paul's already, it's like Rich Paul has a map of the United States. He's got little figurines of his players, and he's sitting there playing. Oh, I think this guy, okay, I like him there, like a chess piece. But had DeAaron maintained that I'm really holding out because I want the max contract, what if the Kings then started trading away pieces like Keegan Murray, Keon Ellis, to satisfy Fox, with the understanding Fox is coming back and then Fox walks? Or you've got to trade him at the trade deadline this coming season for pennies on the dollar. That would have hurt this franchise worse. So at least in that respect, it was straight up, but definitely some passive aggressiveness there. Question, did the Spurs really even want Fox? I think once the Spurs found out they could trade for Fox for giving up very little, they just did the trade for the sake of it. You know what, Tay, I don't have the answer to that, but I said it about 15 minutes ago. It is a very low risk move for the Spurs. It was incredibly low risk. That's why I'm saying I don't think the Spurs are pot committed to DeAaron Fox. The Spurs, I would argue, are in the power position. It's very realistic that you could see DeAaron Fox playing in a different uniform other than a Spurs uniform next season, at some point during that season. Depends on the moves they make. If they take 2 rookies and they don't trade for Giannis, then it's probably more likely that Fox stays, but all bets are off the table if they go in for Giannis. You just can't have 3 players. And San Antonio, by the way, is not a big market. They're closer to a small market than a big market. They have just done incredibly well with drafting and had an incredible coach and a great system and a classy organization. Pop ain't going to back down. It's a low-risk move. It was. And that's what makes it so much worse on the Kings' end. Right? Play not to get hurt. I think Fox just wants to win to be a part of something special. I would agree with that. I think he does. Fox, look, I got killed. I got killed last summer and all through the season by the hardcore Fox fans. He's a superstar. I said all along, dude is a 1B. He's a great 1B. What does San Antonio have him as right now? A 1B. You can't have the best of both worlds. You can't have the Supermax contract and be a 1B. At least you can't do that in a small market. Doesn't work that way. Manuel, let's just call it what it is. I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to call him that. I was disappointed with some things, but I'm not going to go there. I think Foxy has very thin skin. He does not take criticism well. You saw how everything unfolded after the trade where other hosts were talking about him and he starts clapping back and calling into their shows. And then it turns into a call with, you see what I'm saying? You know, if you followed him on social media, you know that he likes to clap back. Dave hopping back in the conversation. However, the defense of Giannis and Wemby nuts. Dave, what about the offensive end? If you are a team playing the Spurs that have Giannis and Wemby, how do you begin to game plan for that? Think about this. Theoretically, think about this for a second. Because the NBA, as we see in the playoffs especially, but we're starting to see teams, even Minnesota, when Tay brought this up with the Rudy Gobert trade, Minnesota was the first team in this three-point era that decided to go double big. And Jerry and I have been slowly kind of watching the trends, thinking, are teams going to follow? Guess who followed? The Dallas Mavericks. Where'd they end up? The NBA Finals, right? And so we're kind of the opinion, and I don't want to speak for Jerry, but this double big idea is going to come back. You're going to see a little bit more balance to the floor than what we've seen with the 5-out basketball. But with Wemby and Giannis, you could even play a big with them. Those two can be on the perimeter. Like the game plan defensively for them, I just don't know what it is. I think you probably, if you're going to double somebody, you're doubling, my guess is Wemby, because you probably can get a few more turnovers out of him than Giannis, but I don't even know. Do you zone him? It would be insane. Hypothetical. Say we trade for Giannis. Who do you put at center with Giannis? Giannis or Sabonis? You'd 100% put Giannis at center. Yeah, and you let Sabonis do his stuff down low, and Giannis stretches the floor. How can you have a positive outlook playing for that ownership, the Kings? Well, it's a fair point, Leon. Okay. DeAaron was here for how many years? He signed one extension. I don't know what Vivek's act has been like throughout DeAaron's tenure here. Better suited for Grant because he was around it more. But by the time you're signing that extension, you know what you're kind of getting in bed with. That being said, Vivek seems to be very impulsive. So it's a good question. It's a good statement. Rhino, realistic free agent / trade targets for our new starting point guard. Great question, Dave. I'm looking. So the first thing that I'm looking at is teams that are going to have to break things up. I don't know that Cleveland is going to be able to keep everything together. So I wouldn't mind a guy like Ty Jerome coming in to Sacktown. Now, can you get him? We'll see. The free agency part of this is interesting to me because the Kings they don't have enough money to come out of the gate swinging. But as soon as the market kind of settles, and even last year with DeRozan, it happened relatively late into free agency. I'm talking like day 2, day 3, when guys are realizing, when you're a couple days past the early bird rights and guys are realizing the number that they were hoping for isn't going to be there, or it's going to be with a team that might not be as desirable, that's where I think the Kings have to be aggressive. The past couple of years, I've said you cannot sit back and wait for things to come to you. You had to go out. You couldn't be reactionary. This is one where you got to let the market come to the Kings. But Ty Jerome, I like him. Look, a name that I love does not work for the money, but he's certainly going to be up for grabs. Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday would be incredible for this Kings team. If there was a player, a realistic player, if I'm in the front office and I'm trying to pitch Vivek Ranadive into possibly going over, I think I could make a very solid argument for going over. And Grant will tell you he will never do it, which might be true. But I think I could make a solid argument because I think that speaks also to this guy.
The biggest thing is we need a point guard. That's for sure.
Right? That guy wants some clarification on what this season's going to look like. Your piece to trade is DeMar DeRozan. That's your most realistic piece, and that's going to go a team like a Houston. You're looking to get something there. You can't take Van Vliet at $44 million. That's crazy. It just doesn't work with the roster spots the Kings have because you would have to balance out the money. But a team like Oklahoma City, in fact, here's a name, Alex Caruso. If the Oklahoma City Thunder fall short this year with the amount of draft picks they have, and by the way, they get Philly's pick, which is 6th in this draft, you could make a very strong argument that a DeMar DeRozan, Jerry and I talked about this actually on Tuesday. It's either this show or the show the week before, that DeMar DeRozan would be an excellent fit there. DeMar wants to play for a championship. He would be a 6th man, but he's willing, I think, to be a 6th man in the right situation. That would be a great situation. The Clippers, you definitely don't want James Harden. Kind of looking at what they have, but a Ty Jerome, an Alex Caruso, a Drew Holiday. What's Chicago going to do with their situation at point guard? They were fairly happy with Josh Giddey, but then you have to pay Kobe White. So I'm looking at the teams that fall short, but good question. It's got to be a strong point guard that sends a message to Domantas Sabonis. And quite frankly, I don't think there's a stronger message you can send than doing something like that with the Drew Holiday. And I don't think Boston would take, if you look at the Kings financially, Drew is making between, let's look at this right now. We're getting out into space right now. Max Strus, he's got 2 years left on his deal. I'm looking at Cleveland as we speak. Let's see where is he at? Ty Jerome. So Ty Jerome's free agent. He only made $2.5 million this year. I would overpay for a Ty Jerome. I think although he struggled in the postseason, I don't put that solely on him. I think there was more asked of him than normally asked because of the injuries. So I would target Ty Jerome in a New York second to Drew Holiday in that situation. Drew is making, let's see, it's up there. He's making 32.4 next year. The year after that, 34.8. And then there is a player option in 27-28 for 37.2. So looking at the Kings in their salaries, you would have to have a DeMar DeRozan in that deal at 24.5. Realistically, it would have to be like a DeMar DeRozan and a Malik Monk to get Drew Holiday here. That comes it's a little bit over on the money. You could, a DeMar DeRozan and a Valanciunas gets it done. They don't need, they're going to get rid of Porzingis. So I guess there's some possibilities out there. I mean, you're going to have to ask more of Keon Ellis. There's a pathway, but to me, that is the pickup. But I would hate to see this team lose Monk. That would be a Devastating move. Like it or not, Rich Paul doing his job. Yeah. Would Rich Paul be where he's at without LeBron James? No. Maybe. Well, fair. Maybe, but probably not. Either way, we are screwed. Not necessarily. Oh my God, this is becoming such a lower chat. Fox is so history. We're not talking about the Kings and Fox history. I think it's an interesting situation. And it stimulated the chat. So I'm sorry that you don't like hearing his name. I think he might take a similar route pay-wise to to Boogie Cousins. When Vlade drafted MB3 over Luka, that set us back 10 years, no matter how you look at it. I don't think it's fair to say no matter how you look at it. You would have had to change everything in Sacramento. Now, knowing what we know with DeAaron Fox, that obviously means you would have moved off Fox earlier. Vlade was on the record. He thought Fox isn't that guy, but he could be. He was hoping he could be, but he always thought he could be a solid 1B. LOL, don't make, or LO Spurs don't make moves to make a move. They don't, but I think it was very low risk. What else can you say about it? Very, very low risk. That's the bottom line. When you say that's the bottom line, you know what I think of. I go straight to Stone Cold. You guys remember that pregame show where I got hit with, hey, that's so-and-so's drop. Why are you playing it on your show?
Business is about to pick up here.
Come on. Spurs won't make that trade. We traded one star point guard with the expectation that the other Fox would be here for a long time. Yeah, you did. You did. Absolutely. But you also, let's be fair. Let's be fair about this. What had Tyrese Halliburton done up until that point? You saw the potential, but he hadn't been an all-star yet, and he fetched a multiple-time all-star. So you kind of sold at the right time. You got the most bang for your buck. I was on you about Fox a little, Ryan. Didn't want to lose his defense. Yeah, look, he was freaky at defense sometimes, on defense. I've seen him make probably two of the more freakier plays. Not Anthony Edwards freaky, but his length and his ability. What people don't realize, and I know we want to move this away from DeAaron Fox, was he gambled so much defensively, but he had the speed to make up for it most times. And that's what really made him a special defender at times. Not a fan of his decision to bail, fair enough, because he was taking the blame for problems the Kings have for decades. I would clap back too. Fair enough. 1B is really a 2. All right, John. All right. You know what, John? Let's go to the judges for a ruling. Does that make sense?
That don't make no sense.
Yes, it does make sense. Good job. Look, am I being too polite by saying 1B? That's what it is, right? I'm being polite. Yet the Kings seemed pretty unwilling to. Yeah, and so Dave, that's the big thing for me. I think for Doug Christie, because what was the rhetoric going around? It was, dang, if Doug had a full training camp with those guys, this could be a lot different. Maybe Doug's not comfortable putting them on the court. Hell, I even rolled out the take that maybe it's Doug's ace up the sleeve. Like maybe he is waiting to roll that out for the play-in. And Valanciunas played like 7 minutes. So if Doug doesn't explore that and the Kings struggle, I think there's going to be a relatively short leash. I think there is going to be a lot of pressure to have those two on the court at the same time. I mean, Valanciunas, for all intents and purposes, saved the Kings' play-in hopes when Domas got hurt. The Kings played great with Valanciunas in for Domas, and Valanciunas' number is more than fair. And that's what I'm talking about with the free agency. Valanciunas signed his contract last year with Washington, $9.9 million. This next season, 10.395, so basically 10.4. And then 26-27, it's 14.7. I'm rounding up. That's what the market bared for Valanciunas. Valanciunas 5 years ago, his contract, it would have been double. So that's where I think, although we look at $20 million is not a lot to play with, there's going to be guys that don't get their contracts. I know Malik Monk or don't get what they think they deserve. It's a shifting NBA, and it's not because the player doesn't deserve it. It's because of the new rules. It's the CBA. I mean, Malik Monk, the 17 million, the 18, and then the 20 and the 21 player option, that was a huge raise for him. But I think Malik and his agent thought that there would be more on the open market than that. And certainly the consideration to stay in Sacramento was a big part of it. The Spurs will keep building through the drafts like OKC. They have Fox, Wemby, and Castle. A great war chest to keep building. It's a great point, Leon. Good job by you. Tari Eason, love his game for sure. But the Pacers knew Halliburton was going to be very good. They also knew he was going to be coached by a very good coach with point guards. They weren't making that trade, getting Fox in return. No, it doesn't work. That trade does not work. You're 100% right, Lau. Everybody, that there would have been no Sabonis trade because they were not going to pay DeAaron Fox that money. Remember, Hallie was still on that rookie deal. Would Malik have come here if we didn't have Fox? Good question. I don't know. Good question. Would you do that, Rhino? DeRozan and Monk for Holiday? Man, you are... Okay, so here's what I like about it. I've talked about the importance of being able to switch 1 through 5 defensively. Right now, you have 2 guys under contract that I believe can switch. One that can switch 1 through 5 in Keegan Murray. And by switching 1 through 5, that's not starting Keegan Murray at center and putting him on the other team's center. It's in the flow of the game. They can effectively guard for a possession or two on that position. Keegan is one that can do 1 through 5. I would say that Keon can guard 1 through 4, which is why a lot of those combinations that we saw that had higher net ratings, higher statistics per 100 possessions that included Keon, a lot of that went into the fact that they were able to switch more. So if you bring in a Drew Holiday, you now have 3 people, theoretically, that will be in the starting lineup that can switch. If you re-sign Jake LaRavia, you now have a combination of 4 players, and I'm not saying that Jake LaRavia would be starting. He would be coming off the bench. But you have a combination of 4 guys that can switch at the very minimum 1 through 4, probably 1 through 5. That, to me, astronomically changes the Kings' defense. Now, the offense, where's it going to come from? And to me, making a move like that is heavily betting on Zach LaVine. Heavily. Which you kind of have to. You have to turn his contract into an asset. Right now on the balance sheet, it's under the liability side. So it's a great, Drew just does so much. Can you imagine the pick and roll with Sabonis and Drew? They're both Bulldogs. Man, that's a tough question. What would you guys do? Would you be open to that? Now, the question is, would Boston want to take on Malik through 27, 28? I don't think that they would want to take on that much salary that long with both players because both are under contract through 26, 27. Why not keep Drew Holiday? So I don't think it's a trade that really would work, but I would heavily, I kind of, as I'm talking it out, as crazy as it sounds, I lean towards yes. Do you think the Kings would be bold enough to blow it up if next year are the same results? Leon, I don't think they can blow it up. I mean, it depends on what your definition of blowing it up is. You can't do anything with Zach LaVine until 27, 28 is when Zach LaVine will be off the books. Unless somehow Zach LaVine declines his $48.9 million player option. You got Sabonis on the books for 49. I mean, theoretically, if you traded Domas, kept LaVine around, and then you blow it up from there, I am more in favor. I am in favor of at least building towards, and this, people are going to be like, stop. The identity part of this is so important for the Kings, and they haven't had an identity over the last 3 years, a positive identity. So if there is a plan, they have a plan, and it's not like we're going to know that, then yeah, I would be okay with it. But you can't do it. I guess what I'm saying is you can't do it right with LaVine still on the books. And maybe LaVine outplays his contract. He keeps you competitive. But if he keeps you competitive, now you're in that purgatory area. But who knows? Dallas, they were the 10 seed, and they got the number 1 pick. So who the hell knows? Dennis, Thirsty Thursday. I know where Dennis is at, or at least I think I know where Dennis is at. He has got to be at one of the Bennett's locations. Roseville? No. Rockland? Probably not. I'm going to say Dennis is at Howe and Fair Oaks enjoying happy hour, 2 to 6 o'clock. Oh, the short rib tacos. Give me an order of those. Margarita. In fact, they have 60 different wines by the glass. I'm not talking about like the boxed wine or like the house wine that's made by $2 Chuck. I'm talking about good wines like Rombauer Chardonnay. They do it right over there. Prime cuts of seafood, steak. Also great specials on the weekends, like weekend brunch, 2 entrees, bottle of champagne, under 50 or under $60. And then also during the week, they've got a bunch of different dining and lunch specials. The only way you can find out about those is going to bennettsrestaurants.com. You can put your orders in there to go. You can also make reservations. Father's Day is coming up. I know Father's Day really isn't a big dining out holiday. What do you all like to do for your Father's Day? It's usually a barbecue kind of thing, right? It's like golf, barbecue, hang out. Like, so we usually get the U.S. Open on Father's Day. But if you are a father that likes going out for a nice steak, go to Bennett. You will not be disappointed. All 3 locations have a little bit different ambiance to offer, but the food is all the same. Awesome prime cuts of seafood and steak. That is bennettsrestaurants.com. Go check them out and let us know when you go check them out. We love giving Brian the feedback, and vice versa. Let them know that you heard about them here on the channel. Nape's back tonight here at 8 o'clock. Make sure you join him for Open Forum. One more round in the chat, and then we will resume this conversation tomorrow. A lot of good stuff. Our Friday show. Always. See, I called it out. Dennis at Bennett's. Don't forget the redfish. You always say that. Thanks for picking me up.
Yeah!
The redfish is bomb. And it's not actually red like Grant's hair. It's really good. It's like blackened. You get a side of spinach. They grilled the lemon. Love the redfish. The redfish is bomb.
Ryan, that's not funny or interesting or anything at all.
The redfish is interesting. Yo, just saying. Like the jug wine sometimes. There were certain restaurants, I never understood this, that would just leave the bottle at the table and let you do the honor system. I mean, like, okay, so you get to constitute what's a full glass, what's a half glass. So, like, going to the service station, putting no ice in your cup and filling the drink up to the brim. It's hilarious. Wasn't Keon becoming a dependable scorer in spots? He's never going to be that guy, though. If he's open, he shoots. He's not going to be... Keon, I love Keon, number one. I look at Keon and I think the realistic expectation is what Doug Christie was. Keon needs to be a little bit better of a playmaker and he needs to be able to hit an open three. I think Keon can be a better shooter than Doug Christie, but defensively, man, he is a boss. So, all right. Do you think the Kings would be bold? We already talked about that one. Make sure, again, you join Grant tonight, 8 o'clock, brunch for Father's Day. Okay. All right. Mark does brunch. I see you. Can Sabonis get us a top 5 pick? Well, probably not. The Sabonis market, we'll talk about it tomorrow. We'll carry it over to tomorrow because the Sabonis market is a very volatile conversation because everybody has a different opinion on it. And it's volatile. It literally is volatile because he's overpaid for his market value, which is why he's in Sacktown. You got to do it. You have to. It's always been the story for small market teams. But he's not plug and play. He's dependable. He's an ox, as Jerry says. But he's kind of a niche guy. You got to have the right system, the right coach, or the right players to plug and play him, or you got to build your system around him. And I think there's an argument Sacramento overplayed their hand with how they used Domantas Sabonis. In doing so, they may have hurt his value. I think the gap between Domantas Sabonis and Jokic has gotten wider since he's been here. Because the Kings tried to put him in every position the Nuggets put Valanciunas in, which isn't directly fair to Sabonis. Why do you think Sabonis is like...
Well, the biggest thing is we need a point guard, that's for sure.
You know? So, I don't... if you're going to get a top 5 pick for him, then you're trading with a team that's not very good. So, it's got to be a team that... sees a future building around Sabonis and is willing to pay the price for it. I mean, he's under contract till 27, 28. So we'll pick that up more. There's a lot of people that think Golden State could swing Sabonis and think that could be a decent fit. Well, you know, we'll see. We'll talk about it. A lot to still go over here in the offseason. Thanks for being here. Appreciate all of you. Seriously do. These are the dog days of spring and summer, but before you know it, we will have the NFL back. Well, we're going to have the draft, then we're going to go to free agency. We're going to have training camp, NFL, Kings training camp, and we are back to the season. So it will happen in a flash. Grant and I are still planning to bring you a ton of content, at least one show every weekday. You've been getting 2 every weekday. He's back 8 o'clock tonight. Join him. If you haven't subscribed already, make sure you do. big thumbs up, a like, a retweet would be greatly appreciated. It keeps us in the algorithm. And thanks to all of you that have already done those things and subscribed, because we're in some pretty cool algorithms. Anytime the Kings play on X, when it is #Kings versus whoever it is, we're in that algorithm. Our shows come up, and that's because of all of you. So thank you very, very much. Much love. Any more Father's Day shout outs? What you like to do on Father's Day? Interesting that Mark's like, I like a good brunch. Okay. Because I know that question's coming to me. What do you want to do on Father's Day? I don't know. What happens is sometimes Father's Day is my birthday. It floats. But I think Father's Day is the 15th. So we'll carry that over too. All right. Grant, 8 o'clock. Thank you. Have a great, safe rest of the day. Enjoy the basketball game tonight. You've got the Timberwolves and the Thunder tipping off. In fact, I would venture to say, just like last night, I would venture to say that Grant, his show will start tonight at the conclusion of that game. I think they tip at what, 5:30? 5:30 our time? Let's see. 5:30 Pacific. So it's on track to be over right around 8, but you never know. So if the game is running long, goes into overtime, whatever it may be, then Grant will start the show immediately following the end of the game. That's why it's scheduled for 8 o'clock. Go Kings, light the damn beam. Domas, what's the one thing this team needs?
Well, the biggest thing is we need a point guard. That's for sure.
You know, the Kings are going to be like, hey, Domas, how was your summer?
Well, the biggest thing is we need a point guard. That's for sure.
Did you do any traveling?
Well, the biggest thing is we need a point guard. That's for sure.
Is there a part of your game that you want us to add more into the offense?
Well, the biggest thing is we need a point guard. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's going to be Dobos. Get a damn point guard.
Ryan's one of those guys where he just thinks that
All
what
right,
he's saying
we're
is so
out.
awesome.
Yeah, I do.
And it's
Jim.
so lame.
It's not lame. We're out. Court's dismissed. Have a great rest of your Thursday.